Hey everyone. If you sell physical products, you've probably stared at a spreadsheet like this. Revenue looks fine. Sales are growing. But fulfillment keeps taking a bigger bite out of margin. Most founders notice a fulfillment problem exactly like this. Per order fulfillment cost creeps up. Total monthly fulfillment spend overshoots forecasts. Nothing looks broken, but margin is disappearing. So naturally, people start here. Warehouse invoices. Shipping invoices. They assume something changed recently. Rates went up. The warehouse got inefficient. That assumption is almost always wrong. By the time a fulfillment cost shows up on an invoice, it's already locked in. Box size, SKU structure, inventory timing, return rules. Those decisions were made weeks or months earlier. They didn't feel like cost decisions at the time. This is where fulfillment cost becomes invisible. No single decision looks expensive. Adding a SKU doesn't feel costly. Offering a bundle doesn't feel risky. Each decision adds friction quietly. Fulfillment doesn't break in one place. It accumulates. One extra minute in receiving. One extra pick exception. One split shipment. Individually, none of these trigger alarms. Together, they eat margin. This is why execution often gets blamed. The warehouse looks expensive. Shipping looks inefficient. But execution is usually doing exactly what it was set up to do. It's responding to upstream decisions. Where is cost created? What makes it escalate? What changes if constraints change? So here's how we're going to approach this. We'll walk through fulfillment from factory to returns. And at every stage, we'll answer the same 3 questions. And that means we have to start where fulfillment cost is first defined. Not in the warehouse. Not in shipping. At the factory. Because once definitions are locked, fulfillment can only respond. This is where most people stop thinking about fulfillment. The factory. Because in most founders' minds, fulfillment starts after manufacturing. In reality, fulfillment cost starts here. At the factory stage, you're not just producing goods. You're defining what fulfillment has to deal with later. SKU structure. Unit definition. Packaging consistency. These aren't operational details. They're cost constraints. Let's talk about SKU structure first. When SKU count goes up, 2 things happen immediately. Production runs get smaller. Batch consistency drops. That doesn't look like a fulfillment problem, but it is. Because fulfillment systems assume stability. When SKUs fragment, unit identity fragments with them. Same SKU, different batches. Packaging looks similar, but not identical. Barcodes aren't always placed the same way. Sometimes components shift. None of this breaks production, but it guarantees downstream manual work. Warehouses can only pick what the factory defined. If units arrive inconsistent, the warehouse doesn't optimize, it corrects. Correction is slower than execution, and you pay for it every time inventory turns. Here's another factory stage cost driver most people miss. Product promises, color options, limited editions, bundles and add-ons. These feel like marketing decisions, but fulfillment treats them as physical reality. Every promise becomes a handling rule later. Packaging decisions also get locked at the factory. Box dimensions, internal protection, how components are grouped. Once this is set, fulfillment doesn't get to redesign it. It has to work around it. This is why fulfillment costs feel confusing later. Because by the time costs show up in the warehouse or in shipping, the structure was already locked. Not recently. Here. When factory definitions are constrained and stable, fulfillment costs behave predictably. When they're fragmented, fulfillment cost variance explodes. Same warehouse, same carrier, completely different cost outcome. And factory definitions don't stop at production. They carry into compliance, into export documentation, into customs, which is where fulfillment cost meets time risk. That's the next stage. In the last chapter, we talked about how fulfillment cost starts getting defined at the factory. Now we need to zoom in on the first variable that multiplies cost across the entire system. SKU structure. Not how many SKUs you have, but how those SKUs behave across fulfillment. Most people think SKU complexity is about quantity. It's not. It's about fragmentation. 10 SKUs with depth behave very differently from 60 SKUs with shallow inventory. Fragmentation changes how often the system hits exceptions. When SKU count grows, production runs shrink. Smaller runs mean more batches. More batches mean more variation, even when everyone is trying to be consistent. From a fulfillment perspective, that's unit identity instability. Same SKU on paper, different units in reality. SKU complexity doesn't stop at production. It carries into compliance. More SKUs usually mean more declared line items. More line items increase review complexity. That increases the probability of manual checks, follow-ups, and delays. This isn't a logistics issue. It's structural complexity showing up as time risk. Receiving is where SKU complexity becomes visible cost. With simple SKUs, receiving is mechanical. Scan, count, put away. With fragmented SKUs, receiving turns into sorting. Sorting takes time. Time takes labor. Labor repeats every time inventory turns. Storage efficiency also degrades with SKU fragmentation. High-velocity SKUs can't be tightly slotted. Low-velocity SKUs still take space. Pick paths get longer. Seconds per pick don't feel like a cost problem until you multiply them by every order. This is where SKU complexity really starts to multiply cost. Order fragmentation. When SKUs are shallow, orders are more likely to be partially fulfillable. That leads to split shipments. Every split shipment duplicates work. More picking, more packing, more outbound handling, more customer communication. SKU complexity also hits hardest on returns. More SKUs mean more return conditions, different grading rules, different repack rules, different resale eligibility. When rules aren't clear, humans decide. Human judgment under time pressure is expensive. Here's the key point. SKU complexity doesn't just increase cost. It increases cost variability. Same warehouse, same carrier, same volume, very different fulfillment outcomes. So SKU structure is the first system-wide cost multiplier, not because it's bad, but because it touches every stage of fulfillment. The next multiplier works the same way, but through a different mechanism: packaging and unit definition. If SKU structure multiplies cost loudly, packaging multiplies cost quietly. Most people think packaging is a shipping decision. In fulfillment, packaging is a system input. Once it's defined, everything downstream adapts to it. Packaging decisions usually get locked at the factory. Box size, internal protection, how many units go into one sellable package. These decisions feel operational. But in fulfillment, they define what one unit actually is. And unit definition controls everything that follows. Fulfillment systems assume that units are identifiable. That means consistent barcodes, consistent placement, consistent orientation. When packaging changes subtly, identification breaks quietly. The system doesn't stop. Humans step in. This is where packaging turns into labor cost. Receiving is fastest when units arrive ready to scan and store. When packaging is inconsistent, receiving becomes correction work. Relabeling, repacking, recounting. You're not paying to receive inventory. You're paying to stabilize it. Packaging also controls storage efficiency. Uniform packaging stacks well. Irregular packaging doesn't. That affects how much inventory fits into a location. Lower density means more space per unit. More space per unit means higher storage cost over time. Packaging also shapes picking behavior. When units fit predictable boxes, picking is fast. When packaging is inconsistent, packers hesitate. They test fit. They adjust. They add filler. Seconds don't feel expensive until they repeat across thousands of orders. Packaging inconsistency also increases split shipments, not because items don't belong together, but because they no longer fit together. Once an order splits, work duplicates. More handling, more outbound processing, more delivery cost. Packaging has its biggest impact on returns. A unit can only be resold if it can be restored. Complex or fragile packaging makes that harder. When repackaging isn't viable, returns turn into write-offs. That's not a shipping loss. That's a packaging-driven fulfillment loss. Like SKU structure, packaging doesn't just affect cost. It affects predictability. Stable packaging leads to stable handling time. Unstable packaging leads to cost variance. And variance is what makes fulfillment feel out of control. Packaging decisions don't stop inside the warehouse. They travel with the product, into export documentation, into inbound handling, into compliance, which is where cost meets time risk. That's the next stage, export and customs, where packaging and SKU structure turn into regulatory complexity. Up to this point, most of the cost we've talked about has been labor. Time spent receiving, time spent handling, time spent correcting. Export and customs is where time itself becomes a cost multiplier. From a customs perspective, complexity lives in declarations. Every distinct product description, every material difference, every functional variation, all of that turns into line items. More line items mean more review surface. More review surface increases the probability of manual checks. Most customs delays don't look dramatic. It's not a seizure. It's not a fine. It's a request, a clarification, a document follow-up. But every small delay breaks rhythm, and fulfillment systems depend on rhythm. When inbound timing becomes uncertain, downstream systems adapt. Receiving schedules shift. Labor planning gets conservative. Inventory becomes partially available. None of that looks like a customs problem, but all of it increases fulfillment cost per order. Partial inventory leads to partial fulfillment. Orders get split. Work duplicates. More picks, more packs, more outbound handling. This is how a time delay quietly becomes a labor cost problem. Here's the key point. Customs doesn't create fulfillment cost by itself. It amplifies the cost of upstream complexity, SKU structure, packaging variation, unit definition. Those decisions determine how fragile the system is to delay. When products are standardized, customs friction is predictable. When products are fragmented, friction becomes variable. And variability is what fulfillment systems struggle with. Not cost alone, uncertainty. Uncertain inbound timing forces conservative planning. Warehouses staff for peaks instead of averages. Overtime becomes insurance. That insurance is expensive, and it gets charged to fulfillment. Delays also create secondary costs. Customer service load increases. Order status exceptions multiply. None of that shows up under customs. It shows up as higher fulfillment overhead. This is why fulfillment cost often spikes after nothing changed. Nothing changed operationally, but timing variability crossed a threshold. Once that happens, the system shifts modes, from flow to exception handling. Customs is the first place where time risk becomes unavoidable. What happens next is about how you absorb that risk. Through inventory positioning, through inbound strategy. That's the next chapter.